everyone, my name is Brittany and I work for Ford Motor Company here in DC. I'm also here with my colleague Doug, who works for the technology company Argo AI, and we work closely together in our job creating autonomous vehicles. So we wanted to start by thanking STEM for Her and their team for inviting us to speak with you all today. You're a part of an amazing organization, and we're really honored to speak with such a strong and bright group of young women, especially this week, considering we celebrated International Women's Day this past Monday. So we're super excited to talk to you this afternoon and talk about self-driving vehicles as well as autonomous vehicles. So before we dive in, if you have any questions at all, type it in the Q&A box at the bottom of this screen, and we'll also be using a poll feature throughout the Zoom to answer any questions you may have, so be ready to participate. Okay, let's dive into the agenda. So for today, we're going to go through who we are, both Ford and Argo, and what does self-driving mean. So we'll give an overview of an autonomous vehicle, an AV for short, in case you hear us mention that throughout the presentation. We'll also go through how an AV operates and how you could possibly pursue a career in this field as well, and other STEM career opportunities. Let's kick it off with an icebreaker. So we have a question. How many of you are interested in robotics or building things? There's no wrong answer here. A, I would like to pursue a career in robotics. B, I know a little bit about robotics, but I'm excited to learn more. And C, I don't know much yet, but it would be interesting to learn more. Okay, the poll should have popped up on your screen. All right, perfect. So it sounds like a lot of folks are interested in learning more, and we have a mix of those who are interested in a career in robotics and, again, excited to learn more. So let's do just one more poll to get the juices flowing here. Does anyone know what a self-driving or autonomous car is? A car that can drive by itself, but with a human driver, or B, a car that can drive by itself without a human driver? Give it another second to submit the answers. Perfect. So a car that can drive by itself without the help of a human driver. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Well, Doug will kick it off and tell us a little more about what self-driving means.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. Hi, everyone. I'm Doug. I'm the Operational Performance Manager at Argo AI. I'm located in Washington, D.C. Today, we're going to be talking about self-driving vehicles or autonomous cars. So let's clarify exactly what self-driving means. We say the word self-driving or autonomous vehicle. You may hear us use both those terms throughout this presentation, and that's because they're used interchangeably. They actually mean the same thing. And in this industry, there are several levels of automation. Level 1 or level 2 may be something that you currently see on vehicles at the dealership. This is something like adaptive cruise control or lane keep assist. But today for this presentation, we are going to focus on level 4 autonomy. And that's a vehicle that can perform all driving tasks within a defined area. This means that we're developing technology that enables a vehicle to drive and perform all the tasks that a human driver would: braking, steering, accelerating, but in certain conditions and within a defined area in a city. This is what Ford and Argo AI are building together.
Perfect. So we'll jump into a little bit of history about both Ford and Argo. So a few of you might know us as making cars such as the F-150, the Bronco, or the Mustang. And you may have heard of Henry Ford, the American innovator. So in 1896, our founder, Henry Ford, built the quadricycle, which you'll see here. It was his first attempt to build a gasoline-powered car. And about 10 years later, he invented the Model T, which was the first to leave the factory in 1908. Henry Ford wanted the vehicle to be affordable and simple for people to operate and create transportation for the future, which is what we're also doing today. So in 1927, Ford became the largest manufacturer of cars. And as you can see, as we're talking about self-driving vehicles, they've really evolved from Henry Ford's quadricycle, and there's new ways for people to get around and move. So today we're building the future of transportation by developing our self-driving vehicles with Argo AI. And I'll pass it over to Doug to tell you a little bit about their history.
So most people have heard of Ford, but you also might be wondering who Argo is. Argo AI is a technology company, and we are building a self-driving system, or the brains of the vehicle. Self-driving system is the software, hardware, and maps that power an autonomous vehicle and enable it to steer, brake, and drive without a human. The company was founded in 2016 by two roboticists, Pete Rander and Brian Selesky, and its headquarters is located in Pittsburgh. In addition to Washington, D.C., we test in 5 other U.S. cities, as well as Munich, Germany. We'll be testing there by the end of the year. Every city is unique, and testing in multiple cities is important because it allows us to train our self-driving system on a lot of different scenarios. For example, DC has a lot of heavy traffic, has some complex infrastructure, and has more roundabouts than any other city that we currently test in.
Thanks, Doug. So if we can go back to the previous slide real quick. I wanted to showcase that these are our self-driving cars pictured here, and this is in DC. So we have a Fusion hybrid that we currently test with, and the next generation that we'll be rolling out to fleet soon is the Escape hybrid that you can see in the bottom picture there. So Ford is able to help guide the Argo software engineers because we have a really long history in building cars, as you heard previously. Our Ford engineers have experience working on the cars every day, so they know how to integrate with Argo's technology and create a design that's going to be a wonderful customer experience for the service in the future. So you may have already seen our vehicles driving in your neighborhood, and as Doug mentioned, we're testing in all 8 wards across Washington, D.C. We can go to the next video. So here you'll see a video of our vehicle in DC. We actually launched in October 2018 is when we announced in collaboration with the city and Mayor Bowser to launch a self-driving vehicle commercial service that will take place in 2022. So it was super important for us to work with the city and have a true collaboration with them to understand the needs and wants that autonomous vehicles can help to improve the lifestyle and mobility for residents in DC. So Ford is committed to exploring how self-driving vehicles can be deployed in an equitable and accessible way across all 8 wards. We're going to dive into the business aspect of it first, but first let's go into the technology and what we're testing every day here in DC.
So let's take a closer look at some of the components that make up a self-driving system, which we sometimes refer to as simply the SDS. What you see on the screen right now is the latest autonomous vehicle, test vehicle, latest of Ford's autonomous test vehicle with Argo's SDS. You'll see this from the outside. This doesn't look like a typical car. We add and modify many parts of the vehicle while maintaining the safety and quality, like the addition of what we call the Tierra on top, which houses our LiDAR units and our camera. Self-driving system includes the hardware, software, and maps, as we mentioned before. Self-driving hardware includes all the vehicle sensors. We use 3 main sensors so that the vehicle can see all of its surroundings. These sensors are radar, cameras, and LiDAR. Radar offers an accurate representation of movement and speed of the surrounding objects. The cameras we use help our SDS identify what objects are all around the vehicle. The LiDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging, uses laser pulses to create 3D models of the environment around the car. LiDAR allows us to detect objects in poor visibility conditions and also farther out and on the edges around the vehicle. To ensure that we have an accurate view of the world, we combine data from all 3 sensors, the LiDAR, the camera, and the radar, to come away with a complete picture of the 360 degrees around the vehicle. Let's go to a short video, and it'll kind of explain how we fuse these 3 sensors together and create the SDS.
This is a test vehicle equipped with the Argo AI self-driving system. Argo technology is designed to make getting around cities safer, easier, and more enjoyable for everyone. You're about to see how. This scene was recorded on January 14th, 2020 on one of our daily test drives. This is Liberty Avenue in the Bloomfield neighborhood of Pittsburgh, where our self-driving test vehicle is waiting to make a right turn. Our self-driving system is constantly gathering real-time data about what's going on around it, using overlapping information from cameras, LiDAR, and radar to gain a complete understanding of the world in 360 degrees. Behind us on the other side of the street, a cyclist is waiting to cross. Even from this far away, our technology detects the cyclist and actively tracks and predicts the ways it will likely move. So although the light has turned green, our self-driving system holds off. It knows it's not safe to turn yet. Instead, it waits for the cyclist to pass before completing the turn at a safe, comfortable distance. To learn more about Argo AI and our mission to build self-driving technology you can trust, visit us online at argo.ai.
So what is needed to help the self-driving vehicle operate autonomously and make decisions like a human driver? Choose the answer that best fits. A, LiDAR, sensors, and prior mapping. B, LiDAR, sensors, prior mapping, and a human driver. C, LiDAR, sensors, cameras, and radar. D, LiDAR, sensors, cameras, and radar, as well as prior mapping. So go ahead and pick the best answer. Perfect. 93% got D, which is the correct answer. LiDAR, sensors, cameras, and radar, as well as prior mapping. Doug, I'll kick it back to you to tell a little bit more about before you test on the public roads.
Thanks, Brittany. Safety is our #1 priority here at Argo. So let's take a quick walkthrough about what we have to test on our vehicles, or what we have to do before our vehicles can operate autonomously on public roads. Development testing. The first place we test anything is in the lab. From radar to camera to LiDAR sensors to the computer hardware and software running on it, everything is individually tested to ensure safety and quality. After that, we go to simulation. We simulate everything as small as a single street to as large as an entire city, which we can use to put virtual cars running our software to test it. These tests are very important because we can use simulation to test very unique scenarios, which we may not be able to see out in public roads, and also allows us to conduct multiple tests on very common scenarios that we see every day. After that, we go to closed course testing. Once our self-driving software has passed simulation, we take it to the private track staffed by test engineers and test associates. A closed course allows us to safely test the software to make sure that it behaves the same way that it does in simulation. Our closed course team also has a lot of fun too. They use props and they design different features at the track to test the SDS and make sure that it's ready for public road testing. Finally, public road testing. And why do we test on public roads? It's not just to try out our software to see how it behaves. That's what we do on the closed course. But it's because the world is more complicated than any simulation or any track can ever be. And the real product has to be tested in the real world. Next slide, great. Every Argo AI self-driving test vehicle has 2 test specialists inside who can take manual control over the vehicle whenever necessary. Test specialists go through a rigorous interview and training process. One sits behind the wheel with eyes on the road and ready to take over at any time. This test specialist can take over by applying any kind of force to the steering wheel, the gas pedal, the brake pedal, or if they unclip their seatbelt or they open the driver's side door. The other test specialist monitors the system's performance, logs any issues, and advises any situation that may warrant that their teammates take control. These 2 test specialists work as a team to maintain safe operating test conditions of the self-driving system. Now I'll transition over to Brittany to talk about how Ford is applying this technology to its future autonomous vehicle services.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So while these vehicles won't be available for purchase, Ford will be launching a self-driving service in Washington, D.C., as well as Miami and Austin in 2022 for ride hailing and packaged goods delivery. So here's what that means. Ride hailing, imagine taking what we have today, an Uber or Lyft, and you use an app and are picked up and dropped off with a self-driving vehicle, such as the one seen on the images here. And then you can also look at it as moving goods delivery. So having services where a pizza from Domino's might be delivered, or from different grocery stores like Safeway, Giant, Harris Teeter, they could be delivered to you through a self-driving vehicle. So the team is building out the entire customer experience inside the vehicle and in the app. So let's take a look at a quick ride hail video. So here's an example of how you can imagine our self-driving service working. As you can see, she looked on her app to see the vehicle arrive, got into the vehicle. As soon as she gets into the vehicle, you'll see that she is checking in as the intended driver. And then you can see on the screen that it displays the car driving on the road and navigating by itself. You will see the safety driver's hand hovering over the wheel, but the vehicle is driving by itself. Okay, let's launch the next poll. So self-driving vehicles will be available in the future in DC, as we mentioned, a ride-hailing service similar to Uber and or Lyft. Would you be comfortable riding in a vehicle that is not driven by a human? Again, no wrong answers. We just appreciate your honesty. So A is an option for yes, I would want to use the self-driving vehicle as soon as it's available. B, yes, I'm open to try it, but I would not be the first one in line. Or C, I'm not sure if I would drive or ride in a self-driving vehicle. Let's go ahead and launch the poll. Okay, we'll give it another second. Okay, looks like a lot of yeses, which is fantastic. And we're really excited about that too. So appreciate your honesty. Thank you. Okay, going into our next video, we also wanted to show you what we mean by moving goods and having delivery services available. So if we play the next video, this is an experiment that we did with Domino's. You can see that they put the pizza into the self-driving vehicle and the vehicle would drive to the dedicated customer. This customer can see the vehicle on her app and see when the vehicle arrives to walk outside to the curb to enter the dedicated code to retrieve her pizza. Once she enters the code, the window will drop down and she can retrieve her food. So this is really important for us to test to understand how both the customer is interacting with the vehicle and how our potential partners would like to upfit the vehicle and have it designed inside to make sure that we're delivering their food both hot and cold. So let's go ahead and go into another poll. So what is one of the first things you'd like to use a self-driving vehicle to do? Again, no wrong answers. So we have A, have a pizza delivered to your home. B, take a ride to a friend's house. C, take a ride to a museum, monument, or park. And D, have Chick-fil-A delivered to your home. Give it a few seconds for everybody to submit. Okay, great. Looks like we're pretty even across the board, which is exciting to see. Chick-fil-A is a solid winner there. All right, next slide. So let's talk about pursuing a career in STEM. So what really excites me about the self-driving industry is that we need a variety of skills and bright young minds such as yourself to run the operations of our self-driving business. So there's really a career opportunity for everybody. I specifically worked in the communications field, and I have the opportunity to chat with everybody about self-driving vehicles every single day, which is amazing. But we also need engineers, software developers, designers to help create, again, the inside of the vehicle as well as our applications. We need communicators and marketing to help promote the self-driving service that will launch in 2022. And we need vehicle operations and safety specialists to help manage our vehicles, as well as customer service reps that can help to answer any questions that future customers or future partners might have. We'll also need folks who are interested in working in government relations, finance, and business. So it's super important to know that there's an opportunity for everybody here. Next slide, please. It's never too early to start thinking about what you might want to do one day. In regards to STEM specifically, it may seem like it's far away, but to get an idea and start learning what you can do to ramp up your skills now and think about potential jobs is the perfect time to start now. So let's explore a few opportunities here. We can muscle up your skills, and what that means is a self-driving car is essentially a robot. So experience coding will be super valuable. Both math and linear algebra is at the heart of how our car learns to drive itself. So you can take online math and coding classes online. Some of our Ford engineers actually recommended a few apps here, one being called Swift Playgrounds, another called Scratch, and another called Kino. We also recommend that you join a robotics club if you're interested. If your school has one, this would really be a great opportunity to give you hands-on experience in this field. And we also recommend to start studying probability and statistics. So this is a course in high school, which will directly apply to building out the AV system. Now, as we mentioned, we have designers to help us create the interior of the vehicle. So creating and taking an art class would be very valuable, especially highly sought after in the career too. So if you start today by brushing up on some of your art skills, there's a lot of great resources on YouTube that you can look into. Lastly, please make sure you ask your parents' approval before doing this at all, but open the hood of your parents' car to explore what's under the hood and see how a lot of the parts come together. There's also a lot of opportunities for young women and every individual to prepare for a career in STEM. So you can go to a community college and lead yourself to a 4-year college, or take different training and technical courses and muscle up all your math skills. We can jump into the next poll. So everything you've heard today, are you interested in pursuing a career in self-driving vehicles? Yes, without a doubt. B, maybe, I need to explore the topic more. Or C, no, it's not for me. I can't wait to experience a self-driving vehicle though. We'll launch the poll here and everybody can submit their answers. Okay, great. So this is really awesome to hear that folks are interested in pursuing a career and even the possibility of exploring the topic more. So we're super excited to hear that. So let's go ahead before we close it out and jump into Pi Day. So Pi Day is this Sunday, March 14th, but it's not the pie that you eat or pizza pie, it's a math equation. So here's what it means. Pi represents 3.14, or this very long number, 3.1415926535, and it keeps going forever. So pi is actually the equation and represents the circumference divided by the diameter. So here you'll see the circumference is the total distance around the circle on the left, like the crust of the pizza pie, And the diameter is the distance across the circle, so cut the pizza in half, and then the radius is half of that. So let's go ahead and actually jump into a math poll. So the Ford autonomous vehicle has a LiDAR sensor that Doug showed us earlier, and the engineering team knows that the diameter of the LiDAR is 6 inches, but they need to know the circumference of the LiDAR to see how it can fit properly on the AV. If they use pi 3.14, what is the circumference of the LiDAR? We can launch the poll here and you can submit the answer of A, 18.84 or B, 188.4. When you're solving this problem, keep in mind that to find the circumference, just multiply pi by the diameter. Give it a few more minutes to solve. Okay, amazing. Yes, the correct answer is 18.84 inches because we multiply pi 3.14 by 6. So let's go into our last math poll. So if you live in DC, you know all about the roundabouts or the traffic circles. With Ford and Argo, their self-driving vehicles need to navigate these traffic circles on a daily basis. The engineers are looking at prior maps that they have captured and want to know how many feet around the entire circle or the circumference. If they know the radius is 26 feet, what is the entire distance around the traffic circle? So we have the answer A, 163.28, or B, 81.64. And keep in mind that to find the circumference, you just multiply pi by the diameter. Give it a few seconds for folks to submit their answer. Okay, thanks for participating. So the correct answer is 163.28 feet. Okay, well, thank you everyone so much for participating today. We really appreciate your time. And we hope that you guys had a great time learning more about self-driving vehicles and hope you enjoy the rest of your day and celebrate Pi Day this Sunday. Thanks, everyone.